Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming event, Dimensions End Transcendence Tier 11. Before I proceed further, here is a quick overview on how Transcendence works. For any Transcendence stages, your party will get boosted stats if you bring a burst unit for the fight. To access Dimensions End Transcendence, you need to clear up to Tier 5 of Dimensions End Entropy. There are 3 stages that you need to clear for the fight. There are 2 crucibles that you need to clear first before you can access the main gate. The main gate will require you to bring only the characters that you have used for the crucibles. You can't use any of the characters locked to the tier for other tiers unless you unlock them. Firstly, let's break down the requirements of the crucibles. All Lufania orbs are fatal and they are mechanics that you should watch out for this Transcendence fight. Do take note that Lufania auras for crucibles are the standard versions and they are not the restrictive ones that you face in the plus versions. For the left crucible or crucible 1, you will be fighting the Dark Bahamut and a Hope Manikin. They have 20 million HP each. The turn requirements are 60 and you need to bring a green crystal unit. The orb requires you to lose HP from an enemy attack or player ability. For the right crucible or crucible 2, you will be fighting 2 SAM-08G which are weak to all elements. They have 20 million HP each. The turn requirement is also 60 and you need to bring a black crystal unit. The orb requires you to deal elemental weakness damage. Upon clearing both crucibles, you will be able to access the main reckoning stage or the middle gate. You will be fighting a new enemy type, 2 Armalo. The fight is a Shinryu level fight. I will discuss more on the force mechanics when I am going through the fight itself. Both Armalos have 80 million HP. They will gain enhancements as the force gauge build up and initiate needle shower at thresholds that reduce your current HP to 20%. The turn requirement for the fight is 60 and the HP requirements is 15,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the stage was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Let's cover on the mechanics of the first crucible. You need to bring a green crystal unit for this stage. To meet the orb conditions, you can simply take HP damage from the boss or use units that drain their own HP attacks. There is a wide cast of units that can fulfill the conditions. Examples of units that can reliably uptick the orb are Rinoa, Liud, Arthen, Galov, Queen, Zack, Vivi and Dark Knight Cecil. Green crystal units that you can consider for using the fight are Rinoa, Garnet, Agrias and Cloud of Darkness. Firstly, let's cover the orb triggers. At the start of the fight, the orb will begin at the count of 8. It is a non-cancelable orb. The Lufania countdown ability is fatal. The orb will downtick by 1 per party action and downtick by 2 whenever the Dark Bahamut takes a turn. You will uptick the orb as long as your HP got reduced. Now, I will briefly go through the fight mechanics. They will gain aura boosts at the 79% and 49% HP threshold. The Hope Manikin can provide shell and protect buffs for the party. At the 29% HP threshold of the Bahamut, the Manikin will be destroyed and revive with full HP. The revived Hope Manikin will get 200% defense boost along with 90% brave damage resistance. You don't need to defeat it to end the fight. The Bahamut has 2 basic attacks, Flare, a single target magic brave attack and Whirlwind, another single target brave attack that inflicts speed down. This is probably the most harmless Dark Bahamut fight that we will ever face to date in the game. The developers seem to forget its Mega Flare. Whenever its brave is high, Bahamut will unleash a single target melee HP attack. Like other Dark Bahamut fights, you trigger a counter if you don't kill the boss in the summon phase. If Dark Bahamut isn't dead, it will trigger Counter Cure which heal up 500k of its HP and follow up with Counter Mega Flare which is a guaranteed hit, Reset Break Status, AoE Brave plus HP attack. As the fight don't have thresholds trigger, you can just simply bring delay calls and whack the boss in oblivion. Of course you need to bring HP drainers to uptick the orb. Rinoa with a delay call will works well for this fight. Now, let's cover the second Crucible. For this Crucible, you need to bring a black crystal unit. You will be fighting 2 SAM-08G. Let's talk about the orb first. The orb will appear at the start of the fight. The Lufania countdown ability is fatal. The orb will downtick by 1 per party action and downtick by 2 whenever the bosses act. You can uptick the orb by inflict elemental weakness damage. Generally, any elemental attacker unit will fulfill these conditions as the bosses are weak against any form of elemental attacks. Examples of black crystal units that also does elemental attacks are Shantotto, Leon, Vivi, Dark Knight Cecil, Galvez, Seiss, and Sabin. The bosses will gain aura boost across 79% and 49% HP thresholds. After its first action, the boss will use store where it gains brave gain of 200% of its initial brave. It will gain the Gunsmoke buff, which have drains off your unit's brave with poison and sap. It will also gain other buffs that raises it brave and gains resistance to melee and range attacks. Unless you are deal elemental damage, it is advisable to bring magic units. You can choose to dispel buff if you are bringing physical attacking units. The boss will gain a red aura whenever it uses store and will use the plus variant of its abilities. The bosses will trigger store every 2 turns. Its main attacks consist following. Gatling gun is a single target brave attack and boss will gain brave regen. Shoulder charge is a single brave attack with delay 1 turn while the cannon blow is an AoE brave attack. The plus variant of these attacks has 30% chance of inflicting paralysis. At the 49% HP threshold, the bosses will use cannon blow plus which is an AoE brave plus HP attack. If you are giving the boss turns, it is advisable to bring off-turn elemental damage so that you can uptick the orb while the boss acts. Don't allow the boss take consecutive turns or the orb will downtick very fast. Both Leon and Seiss can solo this Crucible if you have them. With the 2 Crucibles out of the way, let's focus on the main Reckoning stage. You will be restricted to use 6 of the units that you used for the earlier Crucible stages. Here is a quick overview of the fight. You will be fighting 2 Armalo boss which have 80 million HP each. On the screen, you can see a timeline that illustrates the thresholds that you need to watch out for. I will be covering them in the later slides. To abuse FR mechanics, you can bring a force gauge charger like Pernello, Ignis, Kryl, Braska, Lunafreya, Selpha, or Charlotta. Generally, this fight features a lot of thresholds trigger. Throughout the fight, the boss will applies 10% max HP poison aura and charges its force gauge faster by 0.5%. They will start to inflict debuffs at the 20%, 70%, and 80% of their force gauge meter. Do note that the debuffs will bypass debuff evasion ability. You can negate the debuffs by using the debuff negation call like Rinoa or Regen. The fight will punish if a unit acts 4 turns consecutively. On the 5th turn, the unit won't be to reapply his or buffs until the unit exit out of the instant turn. In JP, there is a bug involving Zell where he can spam infinite punch rush by abusing this mechanic. However, the bug will most likely be fixed when the event is released in global. The boss will trigger needle shower attacks at certain HP thresholds or during its force time. The needle shower is an AoE gravity attack that reduces the party member's HP to 20% of their current HP. The boss will also use this when the force time turns is at odd number turn. When the force gauge is at 50%, the boss will gain non-elemental attacks absorption. To overcome this, you need to use elemental enchant call like the ones I have listed on the screen if you are bringing non-elemental attackers. As the HP requirement is only 15k, remember to heal up for the HP requirements before you end the fight. I have listed down the burst healing calls that you can consider bringing for the fight. Firstly, let's cover on the boss force gauge mechanics. As this is a Shinryu fight, the boss will also gain boost too as the force gauge build up. The charging speed will increase faster as the boss's HP deplete. You can refer the table on bottom of the screen for more details. Throughout the fight, the boss will inflict 10% max HP poison aura and its force gauge will charge faster by 0.5%. When the force gauge is at 20%, you will trigger the inflicted debuffs condition where the boss will apply 3 debuffs, attack minus 50%, defense minus 50%, and brave damage minus 50% for 5 turns. When the force gauge is 50% and above, the boss will start to absorb non-elemental brave damage. Brave damage from non-elemental physical or magic attacks will get absorbed by the boss. The only way to avoid this is to freeze the boss force gauge with a magic FR ability or use an elemental enchant call. Likewise, you can ignore this condition by bringing a party enchanter or use elemental based attackers. When the force gauge is at 70%, you will trigger the inflicted debuffs plus condition where the boss will inflict a 1-turn paralysis debuff. When the force gauge is at 80%, you will trigger the inflicted debuffs plus condition where the boss will inflict a 2-turn stop debuff. The stop debuff will freeze the unit's EX recast gauge meter and reduces the unit's speed by 10%. To handle the debuffs, you can either use a debuff negation call like Rinoa or Ragin. Or you can block all your character's buff slots with 6 framed buffs. Do note that the debuffs inflicted during the thresholds will bypass debuff evasion abilities. When the force gauge is maxed, it will unleash its force ability, Nectar Burst, and activate its force time by 10. Its force ability, Nectar Burst, will result the boss to recover from break and unleash a guaranteed hit, AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will gain 4 framed buffs that gives 50% boost to its attack, speed, brave damage, and defense for 5 turns. When the force time is activated, you will see a red hue emitting from its force gauge. The boss will gain an enhancement where it gains a post-turn brave regen which is 50% of its max brave. It will also use Needle Shower on every odd number turns during its force time. Just watch out for it when the force time counter is at 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1. Needle Shower is an AoE gravity HP attack that reduces your unit's HP to 20% of their current HP. For example, if the unit's HP is 1000, it will be reduced to 200. To freeze the force time, you need to use a magic force ability which is Rinoa, Terra, Charlotta, and Cloud of Darkness. Do note that using a magic FR ability won't prevent the threshold triggers, but it will prevent the HP poison and the non-elemental brave damage absorption. Like other Shinryu fights, the boss will gain aura boost when its HP is depleted. At the start of the fight, it will gain 80% brave gain and 90% brave damage resistance, raises its brave damage cap by 50% and boost its defense by 50%. At the 49% HP threshold, it will further increase the max brave cap, damage cap, and defense stats boost to 100%. The brave damage and brave gain resistance will flip where the boss will gain 80% brave damage reduction and 90% brave gain reductions. As mentioned earlier, throughout the fight, the boss will use Needle Shower at the following HP thresholds: 79%, 59%, 39%, and 19% HP thresholds. It will also use it during the odd turns during its force time. Needle Shower is an AoE gravity attack that reduces all your party HP to 20% of their current HP. The attack won't kill your party members even they have 1 HP, but you still need to be mindful of it. Do remember that the stage HP requirements is only 15k. The boss won't trigger Needle Shower during the summon or burst phase. However, the trigger of these attacks will be delayed once you exited out from one of the phases that I have mentioned earlier. The bosses have a standard damage rotation cycle. It will start off with Skewer, which is a single target brave plus HP attack. Next, it will use Wild Horn, another single target melee brave attack. Lastly, it will end with Ivy Whip, which is an AoE melee brave attack. After that, it will revert back to Skewer on its next turn and restart the attack rotation again. When the party's HP is low, the boss could trigger a HP attack. You will want to ensure your party HP is upkept at a safety zone. Due to the penalties faced as the boss force gauge build up, I will cover more on them. When the force gauge is 50% and above, the boss will start to absorb all forms of non-elemental brave damage. To handle this mechanic, you can either use elemental damage attackers or bring a party enchanter. You can also choose to bring an elemental enchant call. The boss will also trigger debuffs at the 20%, 70%, and 80% of its force gauge. The debuffs can be dangerous at the 70% and 80% mark, where your party will get inflicted with 1 turn paralysis or 2 turn stop. These attacks will bypass debuff evasion. You can negate that by using debuff negation calls like Rinoa or Ragin. Alternatively, you can make use of the 6-framed buff strategy to avoid them. To close up on the guide, let's discuss a bit on the featured FR unit, my waifu Rinoa. With her BT, FR, and C90 awakenings, Rinoa will become a self-sustaining DPS unit if you have her fully geared. Let's briefly go through her force time conditions. Using a magic ability will uptick the HP damage bonus by 20%. Have a special effect active will uptick the HP damage by another 20%. Rinoa will always fulfill this when her Angel Wings buffs are active. The last condition is fulfilled when the unit takes action when their HP is below 100% at the end of the turn. HP drainers will fulfill this condition. They gain 20% HP damage bonus upon fulfilling this condition. Rinoa will always fulfill this as long as she is in her Angel Wings mode and use her Angel Wings HP attack. She will gain 40% HP damage bonus when she fulfill this condition. Similar to DFFOO, Rinoa is a heavy investment unit. You need to have full investment in her gear to make her one of the best AoE damage nukers in the game. You just need to activate her FR and BT finisher and have her spam her Angel Wing ultimate during her burst phase. Rinoa can also supercharge the gauge by spamming her S2, Angel Wings mode ability. With this, I have come to the end of the guide. Hopefully, this will help you. If you like the video, please give it a like. If you are looking to forward future content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Good luck for the event and bye.